So we're doing equivalent equations, and then I'm going to go into um, grouping symbols, which means we're going to look into expanding of equations. We're going to do two things today. So when we talk about equivalent equation, guys, it's like when we pretty much have one side is equal to the other side of the equation. So what I mean by that, I don't know if in the olden days, you know, when we had scales, you know, that was sort of similar to this, you know, how we used to measure, you know, 1 kilo of rice, okay, and then we had 1 kilo of steel. Remember those? I don't know if you remember. You probably wouldn't remember anyway. But back in the day, we used to measure um, um, commodities like rice, tomatoes, and cucumbers in this format. So we used to have 1 kilo of steel, 1 kilo of rice. If you want to buy 3 kilos, then you change your steel to 3 kilos of steel, and then you put 3 kilos of tomatoes. Once this is even, so once you get this straight line, that means you have 3 kilos of rice or tomatoes, whatever you're buying. And that's how we used to measure a amount of weight in this form. And this is really similar to equation as well, equivalent equation. So what we need to do, what this means is that when you have, for example, so let's say you got 5.
Hello, Mr. Mra. Sorry for
5,
being late.
it's okay. 5 plus, sorry, not 5. X plus 10 is equal to 15. Okay. So what that means is that we need to figure out what X is going to be. Normally, if you use your logic, all right, you can find out what X is, because something plus 10 has to equal to 15. And that X, if you use your logic, what do you think that's going to be? So what's X going to be in this case?
5.
5. Yep. So it's going to be 5 plus 10 is equal to 15. So using our logic, we can find out what the X value is. And if you put this in terms of a scale that we've done here, so if I'm going to use this same analogy that I talked to you about, so if I'm going to have X plus 10 equals to 15, if this is going to be equal to that X has to be 5. Otherwise, if it's not 5, then my scale will look like something like this. Let's say if that scale was, so if that X was 4, okay, so that 15 is going to be there, and that's going to be 4 plus 10. So it's not going to be equal. Can you see the difference? So that means that's not equal. Or if I have X is equal to 6 instead of 5, then this side of my equation is going to be heavier compared to this. All right, so that's the analogy that we're using. Okay, does that make sense so far? So obviously, X has to equal to 15 for my scale to be even. In this case, my equation has to be even. But I just want to show you how that looks in terms of this method that the analogy that I'm using. All right. So, but yeah. So Sonia, Sophia, just yep, she's here now. Okay. Thank you. All right, so guys, normally this is an easy equation to do, but if we had something more complex, let's say, let's go with 5b plus 1 is equal to 26. All right. So when we have an equation like this and we have to find what B is, okay, we can use our logic to do it. Maybe you might be smart enough to find out the value for B using your logic. But when things get complicated, it's really hard to use your logic. So we have to do certain things to find the answer for this the value of B. Okay. So can somebody actually? You want to try using your logic? What might that B might be? Okay, use your logic. See what answer you'll get. So when we use our logic, we can actually let's suppose is we need to of numbers to 5, so that is at to B. So we get B by itself. The first thing we have to do is that we have. So we have plus 1. So if we want to get rid of that plus 1, all right, we need to minus 1 from this side. And when we minus 1 from one side of the other, and then it's minus 1 is going to give us 25. Okay. And you can see that now the 1 is disappeared. Now we only have 5 is equal to 25. Okay. So we got 5 times B. That means there are 5 B's there, and that's equal to 25. What is 1B equal to?
5.
You can use the logic. It's going to be 5. So let's prove that. So if there's 5 B's, let's divide it by 5. Okay, so 5 and 5 will cancel each other. So B will equal to 25 divided by 5, which is going to be 5. And that's the answer that we said from the start. Okay, so as you can see, first of all, we get rid of the addition and subtraction. And then if it's multiplied by the variable, then we have to divide it by that number to find B by itself. Let's do another question. Let's go something a bit more simple. Okay, let's go B over 3 is equal to 12. Okay. So B is divided by 3, and that's equal to 12. Using our logic, what would that be?
36.
36. 36 divided by 3 is 12. All right. Mathematically, we have to solve this mathematically. So if something's divided by 3, I have to multiply it by 3 because I have to do the opposite of it. And then once I've multiplied one side by 3, I have to multiply the other side by 3 to make the equation equal to each other. That 3 and that 3 will get rid of each other. Okay. And you'll be left with B is equal to 36. Can you see how I've done that mathematically?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to solve it mathematically. And in some questions, you can use the logic. I'm not saying you can't use the logic, but use your logic and use the maths, so you make sure they're equal to each other. Or your theory actually is corresponding to each other. Okay, so it's important that you do this. So what the next thing I'm going to explain to you guys is when you let's say you got 3A plus 1 is equal to 13, let's say. All right, and when you have a question like this, first thing is you get rid of the addition 1, okay? And then you divide it by 3. So you got -1 here, -1 there. That's going to give you 3A is equal to 12. And the next step is you divide it by 3, and you divide it by 3, and A is going to equal to 4. All right? How about if you get a question like this? You got A divided by 3 minus 1 is equal to let's go 12. Okay. So when you have a -1, obviously you have to go opposite of -1, which is +1. All right. And you do the same thing on the other side. So you got a divided by 3 is equal to 13. You times everything by 3. Then you got that 3's and that 3 cancel each other. Then you got 39 as a. Okay. How about if you get a question like this? A minus 1 divided by 3 equal to 5. In this case, because division is in both numbers a and -1, in this case, you have to do division first. So you go times 3, times 3. So that 3 cancels each other out. You have a minus 1 is equal to 15. Then you go plus 1, plus 1. 1's cancel. So then your answer is going to be 16. All right. Does that make sense, guys?